Hey guys, this is Jordan Tracy, audio engineer for Church of the Resurrection in Kansas City and small business owner of Inside Monitor World, LLC, where I am a Shure dealer. I've had the TwinPlex. I wanted to make a follow-up video from Friday when I picked up the microphone, and those were my first impression. What that video was my actual first time using the microphone, plugging them in, and those were my real first impressions. Now I've had the microphone for about 4 days, and I'm at home right now, so I'm about to go drive this back and bring it back to the manufacturer, and since I've been borrowing it. And so first off, if you hear any pitter-pattering on the floor, it's my little dogs and the hardwood floor, so I apologize for that. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Now I've had the microphone about 4 days, and I used it on a couple people in that same venue that I was shooting in before, and you know, it was interesting that you could tell in the video that what I heard coming through the PA was they were radically different between the Countryman B6 and the Shure TwinPlex. They were really different. They sounded different to me. But you know what? I was in the back of the booth. I wasn't on stage. I, was hearing myself through my own ears. So I really wasn't a fair test. I wanted to get someone on stage, someone whose voice that I knew, someone who I had mic'd before. But also interesting was that when I went back and I was editing it before uploading it online, when I had swapped from the camera audio to the hard drive audio that was just going direct, there were differences between the B6 and the TwinPlex, but they weren't radically different. They were small differences. They were subtle. They sounded pretty similar. And so I found that quite interesting that when going direct in, they sounded similar, but coming through the sound system, they sounded really, really different. I imagine that it's like when you have, say, two pennies that look the same, but when you look really closely, you start to see, imperfections in one or the other. And in this case, when I have two microphones, two lavaliers that are designed to serve the same purpose of miking someone right here, that when I push it through the system, when I amplify it to 80 dB, 82, 85 if they're hollering, then that's when those subtle differences don't become subtle anymore, and they become radical. And so that's what I noticed this weekend in real life, in a real situation. And so I did what I did on Friday, where I put both mics on the same clip, double packed them with Shure Axient digital packs, and I put them on a particular person. I'm going to name him John. John's not his real name, but for the purposes of this video, John. So John has an issue where pause. Hold on a second. So I'm going to rewind a little bit. Yes, I am a dealer for Shure. I love their products. I represent their products. I sell their products. And I think that I honestly believe that they make the best products that are out there. Their stuff is so good, and so much better than their competition. Their customer service is through the roof. I can't say enough about Shure, but I'm biased, right? Because I'm a dealer for them. I want to sell their products. The thing is that when it comes to what I would call a talking head situation, a presenter, a speaker, not a band, but just a person up there speaking, I prefer a headset. I don't prefer a lav. I want them to be wearing a headset, because when they move their head left, right, up, down, I don't want there to be any differences in their signal. And so, when you have a lav and they look down at their notes, or they look over and they ask a question, then that's when there are issues. You need to ride the fader a little bit more, and I just don't like that inconsistency. So my personal preference when it comes to a headset is the thin line, this little squared version of the DPA Define. I love that headset. It's under the ear, single ear. If you place it right, if you have the piece right behind the ear, then no matter what you do, that thing will stay in place forever. I love that microphone. Now, if this particular person is wearing earrings, if a person that I'm miking up is wearing earrings, then I can't use it under the ear because the earrings are going to smack up against it. So I use the over-the-ear Countryman E6. So it's not my first choice, but they sound all right. Good microphone. They do the job. And so, but I prefer the DPA. Now, John has this issue where no matter where I place a headset microphone, if I'm using the single ear DPA and I push the boom all the way back, if I put it under his chin, if I put it way up here, there's he has some kind of issue where he's able to make popping sounds and plosives whenever he has a P sound, and it's just I can't wrap my brain around how it's even possible. Like it's mind-boggling to me that he's able to do that. So I put him on my only lav that I keep in stock. I don't keep lavs in stock because I prefer headsets. So, but I do have a couple of those B6s, and so that's what I use on him. And that's why I haven't been very happy, because I don't really feel like the B6 captures his voice and captures him. So what I did was I double mic'd him using the same double clip that I used before, gave him 2 packs. He wasn't happy about wearing 2 packs. But I gave him 2 packs, and I had him go on stage for quite a while. And before we opened doors, and I had him mic check for quite a while. And you know, there's something about when I turned on the EQs, when I turned on the compressors, when I turned on waves, when I had the PSC, the primary source expander, when I had all those going, the differences between the B6 and the TwinPlex were just night and day. Now, John has quite a low voice, as do I, where what was most interesting is that the B6 by Countryman has never been able to capture that. He always sounds really thin, really just word I'm looking for, tinny, and just thin is really the word to go for. Normally his EQ, I have his high pass pulled quite low, lower than I ever really would on a headset or a lav, because I'm trying to pick up just the maximum amount of lows that I'm going to get on a lav, and then I push it up for as much as I can, but then he inevitably starts to feed back in the higher frequencies, and so I always have issues with the B6 on John. You know, it's always, you know, the piercing 10K, and then there's he has his S's that are around, you know, 4K, 5K, and also a little bit of whooshies at you know, 5-600 that just that the mic picks up that aren't his voice. So I've been less than pleased with the B6. I put on the TwinPlex, I switch over to the TwinPlex, and just right out the gate, the frequency response was so low and so deep. I was shocked. It was, you know, it's a dual diaphragm microphone that I assume is similar to the KSM 8 model that they came out with, it's a couple of years ago now, where the proximity effect of having with the KSM 8, it was, they compared it against a standard SM58, whereas right here, versus you go a little bit away, you lose all that low end. But on the KSM 8, you can go pretty far away, and you won't lose that low end. I think that's how this is designed. I think that's the purpose here. And the thing is that when I put it on John and I turned it up, it was so low. It was crazy. And so I took the high pass, which I've never done this before, especially on John. But I had to take the high pass, and I moved it all the way up to like 200. And I had a big dip at maybe 275. I had another big dip around 350, and I didn't do anything to the top side. And even with all that low end pulled down, and these are big dips, even with all that low end pulled out, he still sounded really low. He still sounded he sounded natural. He sounded the way that he normally sounds. He sounded the way like if I was speaking to him face to face. So I had to combat some low end stuff because I've never had to combat low end stuff on a headset on a lav before. But it was shocking. I was blown away. I could not believe that that's what he sounded like. Now that's what this mic sounded like. So I had a couple coworkers that were in the booth, a couple other audio engineers. They were like, "Hey, what are you doing over there? What's going on? I heard you had the TwinPlex. They saw my video the other day," and I was like, "Yeah, you wanna listen?" So we all looked at the EQs, we all looked at the compressors. I had to put a de-esser on the B6. And then I sent them to the other side of the booth. And I said, "Okay, John, keep talking." John's getting annoyed at this point because he wants to be done. But I send the other guys to the other side of the booth, and I'm like, "Okay, blind test here. Your impressions." I turn on one microphone. John keeps talking. And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that sounds all right." I'm like, "Okay." And I flick over to the other microphone, and their faces just drop. They're just like, "Whoa, that sounds phenomenal. That sounds just like him. That's natural." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I switched back to what was the B6, and they were like, "Yeah, I mean it works, but it sounds okay. It sounds all right, but it's nothing compared to whatever that other one was." Was that the other one? The TwinPlex? I was like, "That was the TwinPlex." And I switched back to the TwinPlex, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds so much better. That sounds so much more like him." And so, so far as myself and my coworkers are concerned, when it comes to having a lav, this is the clear winner. I already have B6s in stock. And I don't use lavs often. Like I said, I do prefer having headsets. But I am going to find a way to replace my my lavs with this microphone. It sounds so much better. And but hey, I'm biased. Shure wants me to sell their product. I want to sell their product. But this is a situation where I truly believe that their product is superior to having the Countryman B6, which was, to be fair, was the only other lav that I had on hand. If I had something else on hand, I would have compared it against it, but I didn't have anything else on hand. They're also around the same price range. And so I believe that this is the superior product in that scenario. And, full disclosure, like I said, I prefer a headset. So interestingly is that the TwinPlex, they have a model, the TL48, I think is the one that's even smaller than this, that you can hide easier. And I think what I'm going to do is I might try to get one of those, and then I want to put it on John, because John still, even if I have this on him, he's still going to move his head up and down or down, and he's still going to have the same issue that all lavaliers have of having, a level issue. So, but there's one that's so much even smaller than this, the TL48, and I'm going to order one of those and try one of those out. And I want to do something crazy and tape it to his glasses and see how that works, because that way he can move up, down, left, right, and there won't be any issues with the proximity to the microphone. So I want to try that. But that's a little crazy, but that's something that I want to at least attempt. So yeah, follow up from Friday. After actually using it for a few hours, I did it on more than just John. I did it on a couple other people, it was just a clear winner. It was the clear winner, and it's the thing that I can't get over is how beautiful this cable is. I know I said it was beautiful in the last video. I probably spent too much time on it. This deserves having a little bit of extra time being placed on it. You know, I think about a cable for an E6 or B6 or, you know, just any other regular headset or lavalier microphone. You know, they're stiffer and they're thicker and they're they're easy to coil and they're easy to uncoil. So that way there are no knots and, you know, you don't have any issues of breaking the cable. You know, the thing is that when I took this cable and I coiled it, it coiled very easily. It's so much flexible. It's so much more flexible. It's several times more flexible than any other headset cable that I've ever used. But there's a downside to having a super flexible cable. Take, for instance, the before Apple's EarPods, before they came out with the AirPods. The biggest issue is that you could have them, you know, totally untangled, put them down on the table, pick them up, and they were a tangled mess. Just because they were so flexible, they just inevitably, something would twist or something would go through a loop and they would become just this monster that would take a couple minutes to untangle. This is in the middle. This has the characteristics of a very, very flexible cable, but I'm still able to coil it very, very neatly. I'm able to uncoil it like magic, and it's very soft and it's very thin. And other microphone manufacturers need to take note of this cable because this is a game changer. So yeah, it deserved a couple minutes to speak about. So I'm very sad because I need to now wrap this all up and drive it back and give it back. I've had my time with it. I've tested it out. I'm going to be selling it. I can sell it. You can get my info down below if you want to purchase one from me. You don't have to. You can purchase from anybody. But I'm going to be finding a way in my venue at the place that I work to find a way to replace my B6s with this, because this is a superior product in my opinion. So, yeah, I would rather a headset. For the 5th time in this video, I would rather someone have a headset of any kind over a lav. But if you have to have a lav, this is the lav you need to get. So, have a good day. I hope this was informative. See ya.